Welcome, everyone, to Balancing Act. I'm Linda Wilson here with my buddy and partner in crime, Sam McKeown. How's it going today, Sam?
It's going excellent today. People look at this, if they watch every week, they think we might coordinate our outfits, but we do not.
It just so happens we always end up in the same color.
Yeah,
I
it's
think that's
crazy.
hysterical.
Yeah, yeah. And so yeah. So, um,
So, last week we talked about more of your journey and how you ended
mhm.
up in Florida and doing the things that you do. Um, this week, let's dive a little bit deeper into the things you're doing now.
Okay, okay. Um, I do a lot of disc with small companies. Uh, that's probably if I'm going to lead when I go into a small organization, I'll lead with disc. If they haven't done the DISC assessment with their employees and know how to communicate with them, I've just found that it brings so much more harmony and um, a much higher communication level when they all know how to talk to each other, right?
Yeah.
And uh, it's funny when especially when you have either an all female cast or an all male cast, right? When you have mixed genders, uh, generally it, the communication levels are a little better. But when you have all and nobody knows how to talk to each other, yeah. So we were laughing about it here the other day. I had was talking to some folks about I had several of my restaurants when I was an area manager that either had all females or like all males, and all the organizations I worked for in the food side of it had some sort of personality profile test that they ran. Some of them, it was just they tried to eliminate bad attitudes more than anything. And I really, they never used them the way you should. And that's for the communication side of it. Anyway, um, if they had used the communication side of it, they would have not had the turnover that the industry has, and the industry still has that kind of turnover. So, but I remember one in particular, and the only male that was around on a consistent basis was me, and I was married and not interested, and but it was all female, and so the manager comes to me and she says, "Well, I have applications from these two guys who want to transfer in from another store. Will you approve it?" Are you sure? And now I knew the two guys. They're both college age young men. They were going to be away from home. It's the restaurant business. And yeah, we need a couple guys in here. It's all women, yada, yada, on and on and on. So, okay. I says, I don't think you know what you're asking for. And of course she didn't. And it was, so we had to have a sit down and say, look, guys, you can't, because they were guys, okay? They were typical 18, 19-year-old boys, and not men at that time, that's for sure, not those two. And they created havoc. And so anyway, but people don't look at that. And when it comes to communication, I think if especially organizations like restaurants, that if they would spend the money doing a disc profile and at minimum in their management and their leads, right, then they would have a better operation and better operating environment. And the bigger the restaurant, the more important that is. When you have 5 or 6 people on a management team, and then you have a couple, 3 staff leads and things like that, you need to be able to communicate. And so that's what I really like doing. That's probably what I lead with when I talk to businesses. Do some masterminds in some local businesses. Do a lot of stuff like that through the Chamber of Commerce. I started a weekly lunch and learn at the Chamber of Commerce here, Upper Tampa Bay Regional Chamber of Commerce, and now we've really gotten a lot of the community involved. So we have the Better Business Bureau comes in. They come in once a month and they do a presentation. They've done everything from consumer fraud to how to protect your business from consumer fraud, AI, what to look for in AI fraud, and then they really opened my eyes as to what they really truly do. And so every business should be listed with the Better Business Bureau. I always thought it was just kind of but they really do quite a bit. Anyway, and then we have one of the county development agencies comes in. He comes in about once a quarter. We've had commercial bankers come in and talk. We've had local real estate agents. So the Lunch and Learn has really turned into a true lunch and learn when it comes to people in the community getting involved. So I don't have to do it every week, which is, I started doing it. We started right before the pandemic hit. And then, of course, the pandemic hit. So what are we going to do? Well, during the pandemic, we did not shut down the chamber, but we went online. Well, I was the only one who knew how to work a Zoom call. So there were weeks where there was in 5 days, because we were closed on the weekends, right?
Mm.
We had 20 different Zoom calls. And Mark was keeping track of them, and he's like, wow. And so, so I got pretty good at Zoom calls. But the pandemic changed everything, and we were talking before the show about what the pandemic did for us, right? You would set your alarm to get up to watch a sunrise on the east coast of Florida
Mm-hmm.
from Colorado, right? And I was in at least the same time zone, but I would get up and do the same thing, and how many hundreds of people were watching that sunrise because we were all locked down.
And how quickly it expanded to thousands. And
yeah,
I mean, it was a beacon of hope.
Yeah, it was. And you talk about, we're both people of faith. I'm a pastor, and you talk about God has a plan, and we don't know. There were some really good things that came out of the pandemic.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know about you. I got a little twisted when it came to the politics side of it, and probably did some things and said some things I shouldn't. I was angry. I don't like being locked up. I don't like people telling me I had to wear a mask to do this, and I had to do this, and I had to do that, and everything else. Said some things I shouldn't. Had to make some apologies. Had to go through my 12 steps with people. But I look at some of the positives. I got a grandson is a pandemic baby, right? They were living in Poland at the time. Poland was locked down too. There ain't much a young couple's going to do when they're locked down at home all day, right?
Right. And when I look back on it, for a while at least, I felt like we had refound some of our humanity. And it lasted for a while.
Yeah.
It did. I mean, there are people that started working from home then that have never had to go back to the office.
Right.
Companies found out, hey, maybe we don't need to pay for
Yeah.
all this office space,
Yeah.
depending on the kind of work you do.
Yeah.
And, my son worked at home for 5 years.
Yeah.
And his job was not customer facing. Their business wasn't customer facing. It was all handled online anyway. So why pay for a building to house people?
Yeah.
Now I get you want everybody to know each other, and there's that side of it. But again, and then I'm one of those that like when they were talking about the vaccine, and some people didn't want it and some people did, I never used to get those kind of things, but then I spend a lot of time around immunocompromised people, and now I
Right.
am one of them.
Right.
So I've been getting flu shots for so many years because some of my best friends and neighbors, I would feel terrible if I gave them the flu
Right.
and it killed them.
Yep. Yep.
And it's like, I can get a shot, so I don't do that.
Right. Right.
That didn't bother me. My health issues have nothing to do with side effects of vaccines or any of that kind of
Right.
stuff.
Right.
So I can be that way. I can do that.
Right.
But it was kind of funny to watch the things that divided people.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And then it was even more interesting to see the things that brought people together.
Yeah. 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 I worked in the church I was going to. We decided within the first couple of weeks, it's like, okay, so we have some guidelines. We can do this, 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 and this. So I think we maybe were closed one Sunday, maybe two. And then we set everything in. I had experience with the types of chemicals and stuff like that you need to sanitize, and brought some people in. We ordered some stuff, and had people who stepped up, wanted to do it. We did the whole temperature thing and the mask thing and 6 feet apart, which now, you hear them talk about it now. That was just, they pulled that number out of the air. And so, but that's the way it was. I remember I had to go into my wife's office at one time. She's a dental hygienist.
Oh, yeah.
And so it took them several weeks to decide, what, that is probably a necessary function, because so much disease can start in your mouth. Anyway, she'd have probably been more comfortable in a full-on hazmat suit with what they had to wear, because she had to have, they did a double face mask,
Mm-hmm.
and then they did a shield.
Yeah, they have the Pfizer.
Yep.
And when you think about what they wear anyway.
Yeah. The biggest issue was they had a disposable lab coat, and then they had a vinyl. Vinyl was underneath, like a vinyl cleanable lab coat, and then a disposable lab coat over. So matter of fact, I still have one right here. She would take oxygen to work with her, because by the time she would get done with a patient, she would be, she'd check the oximeter, and her oxygen was, way low. And so, and I forgot, that's probably been sitting on my desk for 5 years.
When people travel to Colorado from lower level states, I remind them that they can buy that.
Yes. Yeah.
Because, they'll come here from Florida or Texas or down along the coast, and they'll talk about wanting to go hiking in the mountains. I'm like, okay, how long are you going to be here?
Yep.
And, you might want to buy at least one of these just in case, because you don't know. Now, we moved here from Cheyenne, which is actually higher elevation than Denver. So we've never noticed. We didn't notice it then. We were also quite a bit younger.
Yeah.
But, it's funny how people will come out here and they just don't take it into account. And it's like, be a little bit more attentive to detail for some of those things.
Yeah. It's funny when people would come to visit me in Jackson, Jackson Hole, Wyoming, when I lived there. And, they were on a 2-week vacation into Wyoming and this, that, and the other. And I said, so how's your headaches? Man, really had some bad headaches. It's altitude sickness. You are not used to the altitude. Is that? Yeah, you need to take something for it, But
a lot of water and
lots of water and oxygen and everything else. But I would laugh at them when they come. Well, we want to go up and there's trails in the Tetons and stuff like that. It's like, man, you're a flatlander. There's no way that's going to work. But anyway,
you're coming from below sea level. I don't think you might want to try that just yet.
Yeah.
Work your way up.
Yeah, but I think that coming out of the sunrises and the programs, and then what Paul was doing online. I know you did a lot of stuff online. We did a lot of stuff from the chamber and church and everything else online. And Now, a lot of that has gone back to in person. On the other hand, there's still a lot that's on. You can reach so many more people and such a more diverse population online.
Well, you can, I mean, we became instantly global because
Mhm.
as long as the time difference isn't an issue,
Yeah, yeah,
you can talk to, you can visibly talk to people anywhere in the world.
yeah, yeah,
It is,
and yeah, as long
it's,
as you make the timeline work for you. But it's I really I look at it and I don't know that our collaboration would have come about.
I don't think so.
You're I'd have had a better chance of running into you or meeting you while I was living in Wyoming, but that didn't happen. And so it takes a pandemic to bring us together here. And there's some friendships, and I have a gentleman that is a very dear friend, and I've coached him through some financial. Once again, he was one of those guys that I got to do the work. I want to do the work, and he had been told to do the whole debt consolidation and use one of those reconciliation companies and stuff like that. And so, but he did what clients who would really want to make it work. And he was, I'm thinking he was less than 30 days away from foreclosure,
Oh, wow.
but he was dealing with the wrong part of the bank. He
Right.
was dealing with the collections people, and that's not who you deal with. And that's what you pay me for, folks. When it comes to financial, I can tell you who to deal with. So we won't reveal that secret. But anyway, um, once he did that, he was sending them payments, but he was so far behind that they held. I think they sent him back 3 payments all at once.
Yeah, they do that. I don't
Yeah,
understand that
I didn't understand that at all. And
because that's because they want your house.
yeah, and so when he finally talked to the right person, got it squared around, everything else, he actually ended up with a lower mortgage payment, and he could take almost all that money that he'd written the checks out for because he didn't spend it. It was still in the bank,
Hmm.
and he was able to go in and pay off a bunch of other debts. And he became unafraid of the IRS when he realized it was just a person on the other line. And if he would treat that person the same way he treated me,
Yeah.
then they would work with him. And he
And
did that.
isn't that's the ticket, right?
Yep, it is. It is. You have to
That
make
I would say that's the secret for
Yep,
everything
yep.
is
Communication.
communication and treating people like human beings.
Yep, yep.
You know,
And
and most bill collectors, that's a job for them. That's not a lifestyle.
right, right,
It pays their bills so that they don't have to
right,
be on the phone with someone like them.
right, 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 right. Exactly.
So,
You're exactly right.
and the IRS, they're human beings. I've
Yep.
dealt with the IRS on and off over the years when I failed my audit, and they were extremely helpful.
Yeah, yeah.
They've
If you
been
talk to
extremely
them.
helpful to me this year,
Yeah, yeah. It's funny. I had a situation with the Irish years and years ago, and I fought and fought and fought. And I had a conversation with one of her Ukrainian friends in Denver, actually, and her husband was a IRS agent in Denver. And we had a long conversation, and he said, I get probably 20 death threats a day. I said, what?
Yeah.
He says, yeah, they threatened to kill me, my family. Um, he said, I had a sports star call and say, don't you know who I am? And yeah, but you misfiled well, my wife did it. Well, you signed it, and
Doesn't
people
matter who did it, you put your name on it.
yeah, people get mean and nasty. And so I thought about that for a long time, and I thought, okay, have I been that way with the agents I've been talking to? And I decided, I probably have. And so the next time I was scheduled for a call, I called them and I was polite. I apologized because trust me, they're better record keepers than anybody else. And they have a record of all the calls you made.
They do, and everything's recorded.
Yep. Yeah. And then, so here's the other thing too, we're talking about AI.
Yep.
We're all using AI. hey, the IRS asked you a question, they input the answer, and their program, their algorithm, their AI generates the next question. So it's not something that they're pulling out of their head. They have that, they've been doing that for years.
Yeah.
And so yeah, it's interesting, but I think the pandemic brought about a lot of good for some people, and we have to, we have to kind of live in the here and now and look to the future, not worry about what happened back then.
That's just at the past you can't do anything about.
Can't do
So
anything about it. So
learn from it and move forward.
yeah,
Well, it looks like we're getting near the end of time again. But like you said, the pandemic brought the two of us together
yes,
and the work that we do together.
mhm,
And you do great work with DISC, and I do work with emotional intelligence, and those two things work very well together.
they do, they do.
So
So if you have any questions for Linda or I, if you want to talk about your finance, if you want to talk about DISC or emotional intelligence, I really, Linda's company is called Loving Life's Journey. And I believe that she has some very, very good programs out there if you go to her website. And we're more than willing to work with you. We'll have our balancing act email and a way to get a hold of each one of us.
yep.
If you have any questions or you just want to talk, if you just want to talk about your finances to see what your options are, don't hesitate to reach out. And I'm pretty good at judging whether or not you really want to work on it. So
And that's key.
it is key. So
Yeah,
don't hesitate to reach
don't
out to
waste
us
your
for
own
anything.
time. Don't waste his time. You got to
Yep.
be willing to do it.
Yep. And really take a look at Linda's website and what she can do for you. So we want to thank you for tuning in to Balancing Act this week. We want to thank Andy Hall, Paul Martinelli, Dr. Rick Ruperto, and all those who have coached us and dealt with our shortcomings over the years and have brought us to this point. We want to thank you especially for allowing us to have a voice on the Empowered Living platform.
You bet. And allowing us into your lives every week.
Yep. So y'all
That is an honor and a privilege.
It is. It has been. So be very, very blessed, and we'll see you next week. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.